Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Crossing the Pacific. This is Nelson, and my name is Kelsey. We're here to talk to you about LPL playoffs, everything that's been going on there so far, and get Nelson's very, very insane prediction of, who's going to shake out in the brackets and how it's going to look going from here. So,
Like how many stars did Rookie get today?
yeah, exactly. How many stars did Rookie get today? Let's start with that question because we obviously are very timely and prepared. So we definitely got this episode in before playoffs started, right? Absolutely not at all. But the so we did have a playoff series today already, which we'll talk about. The Invictus Gaming versus Rare Atom 5 game banger. For those of you who haven't seen it yet. Any thoughts or ideas immediately stand out to you?
Yeah, I think this series should have been 4-1 for IG. They should have won 4 out of 5 games. And I'm not sure, because I'm pretty sure if you don't know what's going on, like the internal workings of the team, I believe every coach wants to work, with the players you have in IG, in terms of their peak level. Of course, except support, but you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But it just seems that they refuse to play the game, I think. Or they're playing their own game.
They're not playing a game that I recognize just in terms of it's impossible. You don't believe players like that don't know how certain champions want to fight or how to play, but they definitely played like they don't know, which was really difficult to watch. Uh, I think you pointed out game one and game four probably are the games, or game five, that you would think about would be won by IG. So game one being the one where they didn't even make any proper attempt to flank, even when they could get Renekton pressure, and they just walked at them and had no kind of guaranteed CC. They used Leona ult, I think, before Ezreal even used E. And then in those situations, they could not get on top of the Ezreal and just got poked out. And then when they went to force an objective, they were too low to actually fight from there, even when they could have vision advantage and terrain advantage from that position. So that was the first game. Would you like to talk about another game that IG should have won?
Yeah, the last game was really bad because they had winning sides. Like you could put any champion on the side and they would win.
Oh.
But they decided to just walk into Renekton when they had. They had a mid-rangey comp, but I think it's possible to play. I think the throws they made in game one and game four were just as bad as the throws which they made against TL at MSI. Because I feel like almost every team in the world should be able to win the game, with those types of leads. At least you can win one out of the 2 games, but it just happened they lost both.
Yeah, they basically had wave. They had at least one wave. I think it was the bot wave in position where they could have rotated, right? And then with Rise or Quinn, and instead they basically just decide to run into Zaya feathers and die. So that was a good one. I it's frustrating for me to watch just because this is the kind of stuff that I would expect to have to teach rookies, or to coach amateur players on. Really basics, how does my champion want to win the game? And then I see Invictus Gaming are making these mistakes. And I just wonder what goes wrong, because there's no way that Rookie the Shy, even to an extent, like Wink and Lucas don't know. So it's just crazy to see them lose 2 games like that. So
yeah, I think for sure like Rookie, the Shy, Wink, for sure they know how to play the game, and they should be able to close out at least 1 out of 2, and that is having low standards. So
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I feel like that. I feel like with the roster they have, especially with Rookie and the Shy, they just should be winning almost every single game. If you play seriously in the laning phase, which they did.
Yeah.
most of the time. But I just have no idea like why do it just randomly group mid or do something which like gives the opponent a chance to come back into the game.
And they would even get, the NA macro supremacy correct when they would just kill the mid wave and then they would just stay mid and get poked for free for no reason. Like stuff like that was really funny.
Maybe they're just Korean hands and NA brain. But
Korean hands, NA brain.
I don't even think that's true. Like I'm pretty sure an NA team would have won the game with that lead. And if they had Korean hands, of course.
If they had Korean hands.
It's hard to visualize, but try our best. Yeah, try our best.
No, I definitely know NA teams that would have won that game. Like even academy teams that could have won that game because they would know how to like push the wave in bot and then just pressure the base and split them up. Like that's not that advanced of a concept when you're winning that hard and that ahead. So
yeah, like I mean, I was talking to some of my friends. I was telling them like, like Echo Fox could have won that game. With that lead, there's no way you lose.
Exactly.
I mean, maybe that's why LPL is interesting. Like, the viewers always win.
The viewers always win. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like after the first game, the MVP was the viewers. It wasn't anyone on either team. I was trying to just say, oh, actually, who's MVP this game? I can't think of someone who played particularly well who should get credit for it. And it was just the viewers. They won. All right. So, like with that in mind, what do you think? Let's transition a bit to talking about whether or not you think Rare Atom will make a deep run based on their stellar performance today.
I mean, I think they are like, on a different. I mean, I think the other teams, except, I feel like maybe they can beat WE, but otherwise, I don't think they would be able to win. Maybe
they play.
I don't think they have a good matchup against anyone in the playoffs except like JDG and LNG. But you don't meet JDG unless you beat FunPlus, and LNG is on the other side. You can only meet in the finals.
Yep, that would be the story. The LNG Rare Atom final.
Yeah, Icon in his first finals.
Icon and.
Icon, Fofo,
Icon,
and Cube.
Fofo. Yeah, it was Icon versus Cube in the grand finals. I'm ready. I'm here for it.
And the main thing is like 2 rookie, 2 LDL supports making it to the final.
Yep, that would be the story. I think there's definitely a chance for an LDL support to make the final, like Draw, right? Can make it.
Yeah, Draw can make it. He improved a lot, since the first few weeks.
And he actually, he has a good way of thinking about the fights, and he just picks too many of them still, which is fun.
I mean, it has been like a lot better compared to the start of the split where he picked every fight, but he engaged every fight badly, I think it's like much better now.
So you have FPX winning Rare Atom then? So who do you, how by how much? What's the score, do you think?
Probably 3-1, because I mean, I know what they think about, Jungle is probably going to get banned out. And the one game which, Rare Atom wins, it's probably because, he didn't ban Zoe or Syndra. I mean, it's gonna happen because like with how FPX works, they don't really like to ban mid lane. There is a reason why they don't like to ban mid lane, but they don't like to ban mid lane. I mean, of course, if they lose like one game, then they're gonna ban the champion, which is key to the loss. And I think like Lion, of course, I mean, I don't think Nidalee is a great pick, but it's just something which we should be trying to like not let him pick or have a good answer to his Nidalee, because I think like on other champions it's not as good,
Yeah, I think.
And you don't want him like punishing your rookie jungle.
There was I thought it was really interesting that Nidalee was left open for I think every game except for the fourth game. Is that true?
Not,
T-
I don't recall.
I think today that was true because I know Sheen played it twice, at least. Yeah, they only banned it the third game. Otherwise, it was just open. So, and Shun played it the first two games, won with it once, lost with it once. They banned it the third game, and then he transitioned to picking like Udyr. And then, yeah, they had Leon play the Nidalee in the last two games, I think. It's actually so hard
Because
to read gameplay there.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh, you mean like IG or Right?
Okay. So no one picked it in the fourth game, and in the fifth game, Leon played Nidalee. So the first two games it was Shun, and then the last then it was banned third game, not picked or banned the fourth game, and in the fifth game they went Rare Adam went the Renekton and Nidalee 1-2 on red.
Because I think like Rare Adam they did draft well for the fifth game because they knew and basically they were prepared to flex Renekton mid. And I think like Renekton mid with Nidalee is fine, it's good as long as you're not playing against Zoe or Orianna. I think it's you have good matchups against most champions in mid at least.
Yeah, it's not bad as long as you have good setup from your jungle, and Nidalee will outclear pretty much all of the meta picks. So you should always be able to get the 2v2 first on mid. So that shouldn't be too bad. Like Renekton will get bullied, can get bullied first couple waves, but as long as he conserves enough HP or is able to sustain off the wave, then they should almost be able to set up kind of guaranteed kill or flash burn off of.
But I'm actually not sure what champion they're going to play against Renekton. If Zoe is banned, if Orianna is banned, I'm not sure what rookie would play. Like maybe Jace, but they didn't seem to want to play Jace here.
I think they just wanted to match Ryze versus Lucian because they played that matchup earlier.
Oh.
And then they had Quinn for the Renekton, so they just assumed it was Renekton top.
I mean, he knew. I mean, they just changed to Ignite, right? So.
Yeah, well, they changed it after they locked in, right? It was like the 20-second countdown. Yeah. So, but when they were picking the champs, they didn't know. So.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah, I'm assuming that's it. But what would he play into Renekton otherwise? I'm guessing. Yeah, because they didn't have AP. Well, they had Udyr, but that's not enough AP.
That's not enough damage.
You need some kind of AP.
I'm not really sure as well, what rookie is going to play against.
Maybe Cassio, I don't know. But it's not good into the rest of the team comp.
Yeah. I think maybe Anivia, but that's kind of useless champion.
Victor loses too hard, I think, in lane. So. Yep. I think, yeah, and let's see. What did you think about the Draven? Actually, that's a good point.
I mean, it's a good lane. Like lane phase wise, it's supposed to be good.
Yep.
Against Xayah, especially
Xayah
when like
Aphelios
by picking Rakan.
Yep.
I mean, against Aphelios, I don't really think you do much, but I mean, because Aphelios can just kill at long range as well. And of course, with Tahm Kench, which is like #1 support in this patch. Like, I just think like you can't. Tahm Kench will always have push if they know what they're doing. He should always have push. I mean, of course, unless you're playing against something like Kalista Lux or something, but
I think
always.
Versus Draven level 1, like it's really difficult for Aphelios to touch the wave, because even if you have Tahm Kench, right? Tahm Kench is not going to have Eat level 1. So, like, Thresh Flay is still pretty impactful. And then Draven can just auto trade. So, yeah, Aphelios has range, but I think he also does less damage to the wave. So I think it shouldn't matter too much. So I think for sure Draven Thresh should get push early. But yeah.
I mean, like most of the games I've seen when you play Tahm Kench against Thresh, I've never seen Like,
Yeah,
the threat
Tom
can
can.
do anything.
Yeah, but that's because it's Draven. If you have like
Yeah,
Draven Callista, you can still get level 1 push. But
yeah,
normally Tom
of course.
can't roll in the lane, so.
Like the longer the game goes or the longer the lane goes, like the less you can do because basically you can't really kill Tom Kench like 2-on-2.
The And then of course LPL Sports are never going to play the Enchanters. So
Well,
even
it
when
depends if you're Iwandi.
if you're Iwandi, yeah, who is
You're gonna pick
playing,
the Janna.
yeah, who's going to be playing tomorrow, or I guess depending on where you
Yeah,
are later today. So who do you have for LNG versus Suning? What's your reasoning
yeah.
there?
I mean, of course, I'll prefer LNG to win, but like logically, I don't think they should be able to win because I just think it's like they have a hands diff mid top, basically in terms of like, champion pool, like effective champion pool, especially. And bot lane, yeah, of course, like I want they like they're much better. Of course, depending on drafts as well, but I don't think like On is gonna run it down hard enough that it's going to make a difference.
Yeah. Does he play the Janna? That is the real question.
Yeah, I mean I know he's like sick on Janna or Tom Kench.
If the angle is there, I could see him picking it. But especially
Yeah,
my thing is like especially because you have these jungle champs like Hecker and Udyr, right? Should be more comfortable for enchanter supports because you can still like roam and back up your jungler, but you need to have like Hecarim play primary engage or a top laner play primary engage. So yeah.
yeah, because I think like if they have a matchup or especially when you're playing against Tom Kench or like Tom Kench is so prevalent right now. I think if you can find an angle to pick Janna, maybe with Caitlyn or Philios, like whatever, I think you can win. Yeah, you're gonna win like one game of those picks. Because like if Janna managed to escape the lane phase, I don't think you can lose. Especially with like Awadi's Janna. If you can get even or ahead in lane phase, I think game should be over. Because Janna is just like one of the most oppressive like late game supports.
So I have Suning 3-0 on this one. Do you have LNG winning a game?
I mean, it should be like trio or 3-1. I think just trio because LNG's drafting has been horrendous. They have been hard. Like I remember they had a game on regular split against BLG where there's no way
Yeah.
you pick Zoe into set, and I mean they won, but that's because BLG is like garbage,
Yep.
So I mean, not exactly garbage, but probably can't communicate.
Yeah.
But I don't think they have good drafts. Like the drafts are almost unwinnable sometimes, and it's like they are very very one dimensional.
I see. Yeah. In general, I have Suning winning this because I think there are a lot of weird situations where it feels like Tarzan is just not coordinating with his waves or with his lanes, right? So even it's like this is a really normal time in this matchup for your jungle to be top, for example. He's just not there, right? And or let's say like bot lane is struggling and he needs to help them reset because they fucked up. It normally like that should be his job, because they shouldn't fuck up. But at the same time, it's like game losing if he doesn't help. So yeah, just really awkward situations there. And so because of that, I feel like Suning play the best when they can just let SFM do whatever he wants, and the lanes back him up. I feel like that's just a bad matchup for LNG, even if they let's be honest, they don't have a good matchup against any LPL team in the bracket. But yeah,
because I mean, like basically, the reason why LNG made playoffs is because they beat IG and they're basically like the gatekeepers of playoffs.
Yep.
They just beat all the bad teams, and of course you beat IG once in a while.
Yep.
And same as Suning as well. They just beat IG, and of course they beat TS when they were slumping. But I think Suning overall is just more complete, especially like on the top side of the map. Because I think LNG right now is just like the mini RNG, of like 2017. Like top lane, you just
Oh, sure. Or 2018 is probably a better comparison. 2017
top lane.
spring, I actually thought that RNG were probably the best like side laning team in LPL, and they actually let me play like Jace and
Jace.
Aurelia. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like LNG as well. I mean, they started the season pretty well. It looks like they knew how to side lane, or Light. It looked like Light knew how to side lane,
Yeah.
but then they just seem to like forget how to side lane for no reason, and then you just see the top laner fall behind over
Or
and over again.
or they just copied the top teams, noticed that no other teams were putting Tristana inside lane, and they just
Yep.
they said, "Oh, we must be doing it wrong."
Yeah.
So I guess after that, you have. I'm looking at the schedule just to see when the next, because it's all the way through. Probably the next time we can do an episode will be like the 8th or something like that. So
Be around quarters.
so I think like if your next matchups are WE Suning and JDG FPX, who do you have winning those ones?
I think that's pretty hard. Like W Suning, I just feel like they're the same. They're
They're the
both
same.
on
Okay.
same level, I mean,
W W beat Suning last time.
I'll probably. Yeah, I know. Suning beat W last time, didn't they?
I thought it was WE one actually, because I remember thinking that Suning. No, yeah, Suning did win. Because I remember I predicted Suning, and then yeah. So that Suning did win that one.
Oh, not sure.
I'm double checking.
No. Yeah, it looks like they lost.
Wait, Suning lost? Okay.
Yeah, Suning lost. Suning
Because
lost.
I remember I had predicted Suning, and yeah, it was not cut and dry. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So W did win. I was right the first time.
Yeah.
Hooray.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was the Gragas Younger and Jarvan support.
Because I remember, yeah, I also remember like Bin actually got very significant leads and just didn't really, like every time he looked for a flank, it was just really horrible. I remember that actually.
Yeah, that game was like just 2v2 over and over again.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that game, but I mean, on paper, I would pick Suning, based on player strength. But of course, I think everything is going to boil down on like draft, and I think mid end support is going to be like the main difference between the two teams. So you just have to see like how Shanks does against Angel and how On does against Missing. Because like Bin and Breeze, I think they're almost like the same player, They just have different names. It's just two.
Ben and Breathe. I think Ben is a lot better, and Lin. I've watched like a lot of their previews, and I think Ben is actually a lot better than Lin, but Breathe actually plays fights better, so it's fine. Yeah.
I feel like their mentality is like they're both like they're literally like two monkeys in the top lane. They're just gonna fight over and over again.
Yep.
Even though in some lanes you should be looking to scale, trying to play the lanes on your own. Because especially with SOFM, like I know he prefers that, his laners play their lanes on their own, and he'll be there, to help you get some, to take your CS, or help you push the lane.
But then he just split maps top, because Ben will only play for fight anyway, so it's okay.
Yeah.
It helps him, right? I think in a lot of situations, like Ben is just pulling so much pressure that he gets all of bot jungle camps, and he seems happy with that trade. Yeah.
I mean, it just depends on what Suning has prepared, because like I know for a fact, last year, this year, they are probably the best level 1 team in LPL. and they practice it a lot. Like I've seen a lot of level ones in like practice in scrims last year. And of course, they don't really use it in regular season. So I'm not sure what they're gonna do against W, who I think is like the most standard team.
Yeah, they're standard, but not in a good way, you know? Like, it's, I actually have W winning this one. I have another, like, fucking series. I think it's, just going to come down to, like, even if Bin gets so far ahead, I feel like they just end up running it down in fights with that lead. And the only reason why they'll actually be good is because I think Kwanfeng is going to play team fights well if he gets a better AD pick, but they don't really prioritize that in draft. So Jomo will just play like Tristano or Kaiser or something like that and win. Jinx, and then they won't be able to
Yeah.
front to back as well because they'll have
I mean, I
optimized
think it
draft
depends.
for 2v2 top.
It depends on how both teams like view bot lane, because I think bot lane is really strong right now in terms of the picks. So
Yep.
if you play against Jinx, then you have to play Varus. If you don't have Varus, then I'm not sure what champions can punish Jinx and scale as well.
Yeah, the only one would
Uh,
be like Triss, just because you can't space her jump as
mhm.
Jinx. But Triss will probably just be
I mean,
banned.
yeah,
So,
because I think 3 is like perma-ban now because it's a triple flex, so
yep.
you have to ban it. And then otherwise, I don't think there are many champions to play, and I'm not sure if they can play like Varus. I haven't seen them play Varus. Varus hasn't been meta for a while.
I'm not sure if they have. I know IG have played it for a long time, or for like a while, and Varus received buffs, so I think that they might just play Varus, but we'll see. They can
Basically,
always.
yeah, Huanfeng hasn't played Varus for 2 years, so
They can
I'm not sure if he
always
can play Varus.
just pull out the Jin and try to like play the map perfectly, which they
Yeah,
won't.
I mean, I just saw he has like 3 Varus games in 3 years, so and he lost everyone. So I'm not sure if they can play Varus like Huanfeng. If you can, then of course it's gonna be fine. But I
Yep.
think it depends a lot on like bot lane, how each team like
If they
view the bot lane better.
I think it's definitely you can like play the map around Jinx because she'll always be front to back, right? So you can
Yep.
always like have a way to just clear the wave and then go for fast plays in side lane, and then she can't really do much. But the the funny situation for me is just they had those situations in the game that they played in regular season, and obviously it's regular season and no one cares, but I think they just set those up horribly with Bin's Camille. And it wasn't, I don't think it was versus a Jinx, but just in terms of the way that they're drafting to play the map like that, but they are not, you know? So that's kind of an awkward situation for them.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch LPL, you just need to know that like regular split doesn't really matter. Like once you know that you're kind of in playoffs, it doesn't really matter. Of course, some teams like BLG, LNG, they're going to be serious like throughout the split because they are like borderline playoff teams. But for the rest of the top 8, top 9, they wouldn't really try hard. Like they're going to try hard in playoffs, And for teams like IG, it just depends on the opponent because basically they can beat everyone and they can lose to everyone.
So then we
I think it's
find.
the
Oh, go ahead.
mood. Yeah, it depends on their mood. It's a mood thing.
So then we finally get to the classic JDG FPX, which was the classic before JDG TS was the classic. So,
JDG FPX was the classic.
I mean, they played
Oh
one
yeah,
series.
that was a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that was ages ago, like 2 years, I guess. Um, but yeah, JDG FPX. Who do you have for this one? I think this one is not straightforward, actually. I don't know if I fully agree with this because I said FPX, but I'm not sure if I fully agree right now.
I would say FPX as well, but I feel like it's kind of sketchy with Tian. But I mean, obviously we didn't practice much, and they had like he played like one game before playoffs,
And they got
which was against
Hecarim.
BLG. didn't really matter, but you were playing against like a BLG who was already knocked out. Like it didn't actually matter. Like that game didn't matter for BLG. Okay, I'm not sure
They looked
how.
more cohesive than they did with page one because they were dropping bot tier games to like bot tier teams with page one, and I think a lot of it is just Naguri plays very different from like when Bo is in the game and page one is, and I don't know if he's overly reliant on juggle tracking from his jungler or something, but it's really weird to watch him play the lane differently there. So yeah, I don't know.
Because it's like the sample size you have with TN is like so little.
Yeah, exactly.
FPX have been changing junglers, throughout the split. But the thing is, like I feel like JDG is probably the worst team to is basically is a team who doesn't want to play FPX because I think you basically have the only mid laner who cannot punish Doinby if he has a counter pick.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because,
I think
you just shut down JDG with one ban, which is you just ban Zoe. It's the only champion he can play, and I feel like the game is over after you ban Zoe.
both of these mid laners, I would say they're considered good just because of how they use their windows. But Doinby is just kind of better in that regard, in that way. And then also,
It-
like Yagao doesn't
Doinby
have.
has like he has like so many different champions which you are not going to know what the matchup is,
Yep.
and then he's gonna get control like shoved.
Yagao's going to get like will only play like LeBlanc, Syndra, Zoe, and maybe TF, right? And then that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and then
So
you can just go, TF Zoe, and you can't do anything. Like you can't push any lane anymore. Like you play LeBlanc, there's like so many champions which Doinby can play,
Yep.
and it's like Doinby he can play Orianna as well. He can play Jace if he wants to, and his Jace is pretty good. But I'm not sure why they don't pick Jace more often
I think
for Doinby.
because it's a champion where you min-max your landing advantages more than you look for windows. Like Jace is not as good at like going for setting up plays in other lanes or fighting in jungle. Well, he can fight in jungle, okay, but
Right.
yeah, I think that's just he doesn't prefer to play like that. I think if you pick Syndra versus FPX, that's almost like a death sentence because you're using like all of your corrupting pot and mana, and then jungle and support will always be in the lane when you're going to crash first.
Yeah,
So
I don't even think like Syndra is a like good champion right now because you basically don't have enough mana, and like if you want to kill a control mage, you have to land every spell. You have to use all your pots, and you have to keep autoing. Basically, you have to like play the game trade perfectly, and basically you don't have enough damage to kill the champions with Doinby plays. Like you can choose, play Kled, play Nocturne, TF.
and then I think probably the last matchup we'll talk about is going to be TS Suning. And who do you think wins that one?
I think regardless of what happens in like regular split, I think TS is like a much better team overall in terms of like flexibility in draft and they have better players overall. I would say like in terms of playing, like if I have to play like weak side in terms of draft or I have to blind something, I think overall they're better. I think it's much easier for TS to get an advantage over Suning in terms of draft or in game itself as well.
I have TS 3-0, so but I also have WE advancing, right? And I think that's like even more one-sided. Whereas there's a chance for like Suning to take a game just off of maybe top jungle matchup or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, Suning. I mean, yeah, there is a chance for them to win. Like one game. Just because Like you just 369 made a mistake, played like playing aggressive when his jungler's not there or getting ganked, which happens like once in a while. But otherwise, I think it's pretty hard for TS to lose this game, especially because of the strength of the bot lane, strength of the difference between your jungle support.
TS are also a team that's like they're really really slow on rotations, but I don't think either Suning or WE in mid game. But I don't think either Suning or WE challenge that well. And even if they end up in really ridiculous situations, there's always like the one flank that 369 finds or draw finds or something like that, and then they just win the game off that, or a 4v5 or something stupid. TS is like that team. So yeah.
I mean, both teams, they are like not super good in like being on mid lane at the ahead of time, but both teams, they know how to like find ways to cheat into river, step into river.
Yep.
Because I just want to see like how the draft is going to turn out, so that like whether 369 or Joe or Bin has a chance to find a flank. Because if you're playing like front to back, like full front to back, where no one flanks, or you're playing like poke, then it's a coin flip. Or it's like whoever has the lead top lane and rotate correctly. Cause I watched like quite a few Suning games, and sometimes Bin, he has the lead or he has prio, and of course he bases first. But the thing I see him do is he walks back to top lane where he maybe should rotate mid, and of course the enemy doesn't know, so they just concede the wave. But I think in playoffs, like more teams would try to punish
Would
him.
actually scout, yeah.
Yeah, they would actually scout. Most teams don't really scout.
Like
the top teams don't really scout during regular split.
Yep. And especially since like TS will just basically be watching games up until this point. They'll probably have an idea that they're facing WE or Sunni.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, W, I don't think it should be like.
Yeah.
I don't think it's even close. I don't think they need to think about W, because I just feel that they're too inexperienced right now.
Yeah.
Like probably they need like another year, as in like Shanks, he needs like this year to develop, or maybe next year they can get Fofo. As far as Fofo is like on a 1-year loan to Rare Adam, so
okay.
just buy Fofo.
Just buy Fofo, and then suddenly, well, I still think their bottom lane is a train wreck, but there's so many bad ADs in LPL right now that it doesn't even. It's kind of whatever. So.
It depends what you define as bad,
Yeah.
I'll say questionable.
Questionable? Okay, we can say questionable. So 5-star ADs. We'll say 5-star ADs.
Yeah, 5-star ADs. I mean, unfortunately, Barry is one of them. One of the 5-star ADs. Even though he's like a really good friend of mine, but he should just move to jungle.
It's okay.
It's okay. Like PCS awaits.
So I think the last thing we'll talk about then is going to be the All Pro, which was released earlier this week, yesterday, to avoid the April 1st connotation.
April 1st. Actually, I don't think April 1st is that big in China.
Yeah,
I've only seen like one person mention it on my WeChat.
Yeah, in China it's not, but in Twitter, if you release it, people automatically say, okay, is this supposed to be in April 1?
Yeah. Putting Rookie there, you're trolling.
Yep. Oh, I put Rookie there, I am trolling? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You think I'm trolling to put Rookie?
I mean, I would have put him first, but he would be top 3 for sure.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I would have put him first All Pro, and then instead they have Scout. So.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would have Fofo mid, and I think the rest is it is like
I think the rest is fine.
Yeah, they're probably like correct, because at least for me, I have like a really high opinion of Ming and Xiaohu as well, and Wei has been playing really well this split with his laners.
I
So I
think
think this is fine.
I think it's debatable as to whether or not Wei is like the best jungler, but I think them being like best jungle support duo is very
Yeah,
obvious to
you
me.
get extra points.
Yeah. And then like Xiaohu, I would say his like some of the things that you would normally rate top laners on, like wave management, things like this, he's not perfect, but there are just so many things where this team is not first place if they have a different top laner, you know? So
Yeah, I mean, he
yeah.
deserves to be first place it's because he can pull off. Like he gets such a huge advantage for his team, because I know for sure that this pro team voting is like the players and or I think it's the coaches who vote, if I'm not wrong, because I voted for it in like 2019. Like the coaches vote for this, and I'm pretty sure every coach just feels like if you have top lane Xiaohu, then you can just your draft is so easy, and that's the reason why he's in like first team, which I can agree with this like opinion which everyone has.
So I think the next one that we would look at it's going to be the second pro team. Who would you have? So they have Zoom, Karsa, Fofo, Gala, Crisp. Who would you have that would be different here?
I mean, like Fofo would be like first team for me, but yeah, I mean, if he was first team, then I think like Rookie is probably going to be in a second, and I think for AD I would change, but
So would I?
yeah, I mean I would change. Like, I mean, of course, I know why he's there. He's there because
Because it's
your support. Your support is Ming,
your support is Ming and
and your RNG.
your team is first
Yeah,
place. Yeah, yeah, that's why he's there.
yeah, your team is
Yeah.
first place. I think like you could put any AD with okay, not any, but almost any of the playoff ADs with Ming, and they're gonna look like insane lane. They're gonna win every lane or most lanes and look insane. But I'm not really sure actually, like who to put as my second AD.
I actually had Huanfeng. I was surprised. I
Huh?
just think the pool of AD is really weird, but Huanfeng like he's consistently doing like correct things. He's not screwing up like throwing the game in fights. His I think towards the end his laning got worse, but for a lot of the season it was fine. And it's kind of hard to tell without specifically watching preview because On runs it down so hard sometimes. But
He's like off.
yeah, he's off sometimes.
He's off. He's just off.
He's just off. But I actually think Huafeng deserves to be there. So that's who I had for my second one. Um,
I could see a case for the Rex to be here as well because I
yeah.
think he played well this season. Even though I think like his overall ceiling is probably lower than the other ADs in the playoffs, but he played well this split.
I had Dracula for my third, and then I think I had LWX after. But I can't remember exactly. It was either LWX or aiming. That's how dangerous.
Oh, oh,
That's how suspect the AD pool is in LPL. That's all I
yeah,
have to say about it.
because
Um,
everyone has like like really really int moments, especially as AD carry. So
yep.
I'm not really sure as well. I mean, I feel like Light is like fifth, sixth. If he's lucky, he could get into top three. But even then, it's his team fighting is kind of tough some of the times, like sometimes,
And then
and like
yep.
Jumong as well.
Oh
Like
oh gosh, I don't.
yeah, it's just a coin
I mean,
flip
I
for
think
Jumong.
Jomong, Gala, and to an extent Iboy are like all the same type of AD, right? They don't really use like auto range well to space, and then they just always go in and hope that it works. That's
Yeah.
literally how I think of these AD carries.
Yep.
Yeah. I think LWX is also kind of like that, but he's a bit better than them. So, yeah.
He's just slightly more stable because he knows he just can't outhand the other players. So, and of course, you have the better one of the best supports, so you're of course going to look better,
Who did you?
or it's
Yeah.
easier to look better, I think.
So the third All
Yeah.
Pro is 369 Beishang, Knights, LWX, and Nico. So
Uh, course, I'm gonna put like Flandre there, but
I had Thunder.
I mean, if you don't know, or it's like if you only look at like performances in game, like what you can see from the screen or eye test, then of course he's not going to be there because he made some mistake towards the end of the split.
He ran it really hard, but
yeah, he ran it. But the things he brings to the team, I think it's underrated. But of course, you don't know it unless you have been in a team with him or like you have seen him scrim. Otherwise, it's pretty hard.
Those things, I could consider for like an MVP vote, but probably not for All Pro. Just the way that I would think about it, it would be like, yeah, okay, if I know really good things about his intangibles and I can ask like the coaches about the other intangibles of the other top laners, then that's like an MVP candidate argument. But yeah, it's hard to justify All Pro, like just best performing. I think on the stage is more how I think of All Pro. So
yeah, I think it's just best individual. Like you just think about them as individuals, and then of course, Flandre is not going to be there because he doesn't get a lot of resources as well, or any. And
also just horrendously misplays matchups sometimes.
Yeah.
Like goes E level 2 on Sion for fun, versus Jace.
But just disrespect people in regular split, but he's winning. And of course, like he has to think for 4 people as well, so it's kind of hard. But I think it's pretty fair, like having 369 top lane for like third All Pro.
I think I actually had Nuguri, and I know this one's also controversial because he had a really bad like mid split, I would say, where he was just completely ignoring the jungle. But I think the way he was playing flanks was still really good, whereas Flandre struggled more. And I think almost every top laner, except for like the top 2, which I had as Zoom and Shohu, just had really, really terrible periods of the split that were just like really terrible performances. So actually,
like they just randomly get ganked when they know the jungler is there, or there's a high chance, and in winning matchups just somehow get solo killed, maybe by Mikuya for no reason,
Yeah, exactly.
It just happens.
Yeah, just happens. So in terms of consistency, it was like Xiaohu Zoom, and then after that, kind of, I had like 5 top laners that could maybe be third.
I mean, if you want to talk about consistency, it's like Mikuya. Consistency
yeah. The consistency argument is always a crap one, right? Because it's like, yeah, okay, I can have a really consistent shit player. Does that make him good? No. So for me, it was just like also looking at how they were playing fights, and Nuguri was usually really, really good in general. So that's why I went with him.
Yeah, which I think is pretty like surprising, because I know the issue which FPX had when they had Khan was that they felt that they couldn't communicate well during team fights. They couldn't communicate well, and it affected the way they play their team fights. But it just seems that Nuguri doesn't have this issue. Of course, like they were. I know that like they were like kind of complacent as well, after they won Worlds, but not sure if it had an effect after they crashed out last year.
It seemed like they really tried to make Khan work for a while, but then it was like, JK. For me, the Khan thing was more about him and the jungle coordinating wave, which Nuguri was doing a lot better about like at the start of the season, but definitely had some growing points, pain points. But I think that, like you said, the main difference for me, and a lot of people have said that this has changed this split, is that Khan is just like playing flanks better. But historically, for me, the thing that has always made Khan struggle is like his TP flanks are some super atrocious or super suspect sometimes. So I haven't watched enough LCK yet. I need to do a catch-up LCK VOD review. But that was always historically my problem with Khan. So.
Because I mean, even in Alpha, he didn't like against barrier teams. He wasn't able to, use his strengths, which is like laning, but which is probably like an issue with jungle on top. And like Nuguri is usually able to handle lane phase on his own. I mean, he can be like I would say like at his best he could play like Jim Goon, which tech prefers. I would say.
You mean? Oh,
Probably
okay,
yeah,
okay, okay. I know what you
yeah,
mean.
okay.
I was very confused for a second. It's like, okay, I understand what you mean by that comparison. Okay.
Yeah, he's
Um,
like Jim Goon with hands,
yeah,
better
Kim Good
hands.
with hands, exactly.
Yeah,
That's the greatest accolade he's ever had in his career. Kim Good with hands.
they both won worlds, so
Exactly. Um,
they're like even.
Same player. The
Yeah,
shy,
they're even.
the shy Kim Gun Nugri, all the same. There is no difference. So
And
okay.
they all won the league once and worlds once,
That's
and they're
more
sorry.
exactly. That's the main factor. So we have a little bit more time left. So if anyone wants to ask questions from the chats, either about LPL playoffs, I know Nelson is a really big LCS fan, so there's always that as well. He enjoys having McDonald's while having McDonald's League at the same time.
Yeah, I like because I'm like in some Discords. Usually in Discord, that's called American food, LCS food. I mean, did you watch the games, like the LCS games,
Yeah, I did watch.
and the LEC games as well?
I did watch the LCS games. I'm still catching up on LAC due to work, but yeah, I definitely watched the LCS ones. So, and I watched
Yeah,
most of
and
LAC at this point.
I just want to say like learning Q SRE level 1 is illegal. Should be banned from playing the champion if you learn Q level 1. Because if you learn Q level 1, you should be six CS down at level 1 against Oriana. But it doesn't happen. I'm not sure why people don't learn W, like W level 1 and proc electrocute, but that's how the game works.
Yep, it just happens to get away with it. I think the only thing that I'll say about the hello. The only thing I would say about LCS is I know a lot of people predicted EG and Dig to win, and I thought that that was very strange. And that's all I will
EG to
say
beat
about that.
EG to beat TSM.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people making that prediction on Twitter. I know, like Mark, was it Mark? No, it was Dash, and someone else said EG, and then Primal said EG. And I appreciate, the faith, but I was very surprised to see how many people predicted it.
I don't. I mean, I watched like game 1 and 2. I just fell asleep. Game 3.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on those particular games, but in terms of the Dignitas 100 Thieves game series, as much as I wanted the revenge storyline and tried to hype it on Twitter, I kind of knew deep down that the only
I just felt that. I think like it's like top gap. I mean the difference between two teams like top gap and like draft gap.
Yep.
The draft which Dignitas picked it was horrible. And
Yep.
Of course, Gangplank against Nara is so much easier for Gangplank to win the lane. If your team plays around Gangplank, you should be winning, but it just doesn't happen. So, and the draft, the RE.
Yeah.
You pick RE like 2 games or 3 games. I don't recall.
2 games. Yeah, the Ari was really strange. So
Then it probably meant I slept on the 3rd game. So.
the 3rd game was apparently the most entertaining because that's the one where I kind of tuned out and started focusing on other work because I was like, yeah, this is sad. But apparently the 3rd game was the most entertaining because Dardock was emote spamming and like actively running it down. So apparently the third, yeah, apparently the 3rd game was the most fun. Yeah. But yeah, Dignitas was an interesting team because I thought that they could do well. I didn't predict like during part of the split they'd be tied for seconds, but I thought probably first split they contest for playoffs, and then second split they start doing worse just because Dardock always has a honeymoon phase on his teams. Ideally, that doesn't happen this time because I gotta root for my boys, but yeah, I don't have high hopes, especially after the Game 3 fiesta. So we'll see.
I mean, what do you think about the next round?
The next
TSM
round,
against Other Thieves. Yeah.
TSM versus 100 Thieves. I think
Yep.
that's TSM favorite, but
That's what?
TSM favorite.
Yeah, TSM favorite. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just feel like Other Thieves is just TSM light.
really. Well, I guess
Like really
now,
light.
yeah. Now, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the interesting thing about it is that I actually think TSM's like mid game is better, but they have zero trigger pull outside of like sword arts. I remember they had one game where they picked Karma for sword arts, and it was like, yeah, this is a loss. I
Oh,
think they actually.
Seraphine?
Oh yeah, Seraphine, Seraphine, Seraphine for sword art. It's like, yeah, this is a loss. So yeah, TSM's a weird team for sure. I don't quite know how to understand like how they just lose mid game because they can't pick favorable fights, and part of that is just PoE. If you've watched PoE's career, he only takes like 80-20s. Like that's as much risk tolerance as he has.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I think for NA it's hard to predict because players have no idea how to lane. I remember watching, PoE playing like Galio against, Azir against Galio or Orianna against Galio. Like he couldn't get ahead in terms of like HP and mana. He didn't crash the wave when he should have crashed, and then he got ganked and died. Like at on the fourth wave, I think, something like that. Like it just doesn't make sense the way they lane. I'm not sure why they want to still push 4 waves in. No idea.
This was the biggest thing for me because I remember I went on Hotline League before Worlds and they asked what like does NA have a chance, and I didn't even get to macro, which I know has always been a big conversation. It's just I literally have POVs of scrims where not even the top lanes are laning optimally. It's
You don't know how to lane.
we aren't going to get to a point where the rest of the stuff is relevant, and
Uh,
the way that TL was winning their games at Worlds, it was like they had to get an advantage through level 1 to be able to play the lane well.
a level one flip where they don't actually win the level 1, but G2 was just AFK.
I can't remember specifically that game, but it wasn't just that G2 game because I think they did it against Suning as well. Yeah. So definitely
'Cause
an interesting.
I remember there was an LTS game where like the team had like one team had a winning level 1 where they 3 buffed, and the mid laner had no idea how to play the wave. As in, because if you get 3 buff, if your jungle has 3 buffs or can get 3 buffs, then you just have to crash 2 waves and reset the wave in the middle on third. Because if you try to crash 3 waves, then you're gonna get ganked because there's nothing that the jungle can do, right? But
Yep.
of course, he tried to crash 3 waves, and then he got ganked. Oh. I don't recall which game, which player, but
Yep.
this is NAL test for me.
I think a lot of it is they are not thinking about like how to adjust their lane based on factors that happen in the game, or like how to adjust those. I also think it's really weird to see. A lot of the junglers who are more established, like this is one problem that I find very interesting in particular, is just de facto historically in NA, most teams have been super laner led, meaning that the jungle doesn't really dictate the decision making in the early game. So laners will kind of say like what they're going to do, and then the junglers just try to adapt or try to do something, which creates a lot of really awkward situations where laners are planning different things, and then it's easy for enemy jungle to take advantage of it just because it's not coordinated by the jungler. The jungler doesn't say, I'm going to do like this path, and then the laners adjust their lanes according to that. It's the other way, which creates way more weird opportunities and way more ganks that aren't real, I think. So.
Yeah, I think it's just basically like 3 laners and 2 butlers, but which is like and completely opposite. Compared to LPL and some parts of LCK, where basically the jungler has to do everything, and for some teams, especially if you have a really, I'm not sure what word to use, like selfish, you could use a selfish jungle, like you have to handle the wave state on your own, And unless the jungler is on your side, has no camps up, has nothing to do, otherwise he's not gonna help you fix your wave. And this, like at least if you practice like this every day, you're gonna be able to fix your wave, most of the time. And it just doesn't happen in NA, and which is why like that Dardoch has some games where he could have horrendous pathing and get a gank off and it's fine.
Yep. And that's also why they had like the Volibear jungle at game 1, right? Because it was like, yeah, okay, probably in scrims this works, but it was really like 11-5 Volibear jungle is awful. So.
And it's like I feel like in the West, you can definitely say that laning doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter as long as your team kind of knows what they're doing. Laning doesn't matter at all.
In NA for sure. I think it's definitely better in EU, but in NA for sure. Yeah.
EU it's questionable but similar. But like if you watch TSM against TL the first game, you had a vertical jungle. Like TSM initiated vertical jungling and lost Transfora, they weren't able to get first base. Like it didn't make sense for me.
Yeah.
How could you not get first base? And then what happened was TL had first base, and TSM didn't react by trying to invade top side. And just messed up.
Yeah. Well, now, like even at that point, you're starting to not even get into laning. It's like you should be able to get whatever base timer you want, because if the enemy laner tries to contest the wave at certain times, it should just be doomed in a split map scenario. But that's
I wouldn't say a certain like every time you.
Yeah, pretty much. So very early on, right? You can like try to if your matchup is just like super favorable, you can try to just like trade a lot of HP, get like wave in super early or something like that. But if you're doing it and then recall, but if you're doing it after like 3 camps, the 3 camp timer or something like that, then it should be fucked for you. So, yeah.
Yeah, and basically the most egregious thing is the Thresh has no ignite because he ignited Speaker level 1 for no reason and they had first base. So, I just feel like you're playing a different game.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Or stuff like like you clearly know Hecarim's bot side, which is why you thought of starting with Herald, but hey, why did you take top side camps first? Doesn't make sense. So.
Alright. Well, it looks like is that a coaching thing? Joshua, no big. So it's all of it is coaching, in my opinion, because you can blame all of it on coaching. Like if they don't know the game plan in the first 5 minutes, then that's bad coaching. If the draft doesn't facilitate a good game plan, then that's coaching, in my opinion. So a lot of it is just the learning for both the pros and the coaches is behind. I think it's getting better though, especially on the fundamental level. Like players that I've talked to who are amateur players have way better baseline knowledge now than they did 2 years ago. So I think the future is bright. It's not too bright, but it's bright, So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. It's gonna be I'm not sure.
And Nelson can't contain his laughter. It's like It's like I can't. I'm too naive. I mean, if I don't think that it can get better, I shouldn't even bother working in NA. So that's kind of where I am.
Yeah. I mean, of course, you're gonna get better. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of time. But I'm just not sure what you mean by bright. Like
bright as in brighter than it is right now. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, maybe.
That is my standard currently.
And like what this what he said, like what the guy in chat said. Like I think it is partly a coaching thing, but of course having been coached for so long, I kind of understand the issues which coaches face, because just some players they just don't want to listen, and you can't really do anything about it. Especially in some orgs where players have more say than the coaches, or or you just have no player to bench because you don't have enough players in any to just like bench and replace.
It's
So of course, you
but that's
I
why
feel like yeah, I mean, I feel like most teams or players, coaches, you just need to give them time, like at least, not at least, but a maximum of 1 year. I mean, you should give them 1 year, and if they suck after 1 year, they don't belong to your team. Like they should just try in a different system.
Yep.
Which is also why I'm like against Ryoma, because you had him for a year, so it didn't work for you. So why don't you let someone else try? Yeah. Unless you change your entire coaching system, which you didn't. Your head coach, your first team coach is the same, so you should have tried another player. In my opinion, at least.
I have some reasoning. I know some reason as to why that it ended up that way, but yeah, it's nothing that I can say, so I will not say anything.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like
Yep.
if like financial or this, like I can understand, but if you had a choice to get another player who was probably like LCS, not even sure what LCS really means, but
I think there are legitimate criticisms that you can levy at 100 Thieves for the roster build that they ended up with. But I do think the scouting process was thorough, even if the results don't show that the scouting process was thorough. So that's the way it happened. Okay. Well, thank you, Nelson. You said you were thinking of doing streams in the future. When do you think will be your next stream?
I mean, I was thinking of doing like a stream like later on, but I'm not sure. Just let me
think about it.
I have to take like 20 minutes to think about it. Like, do I want to waste my life on reviewing any LTS? If I do, then I'm gonna like put an announcement on Twitter, and you guys can watch. Otherwise, it depends, I guess.
Okay. Well, we'll see you sometime next week, and we'll catch up on the LPL playoffs then, and maybe if we just turn this into LPL and LCS playoffs catch up, which
just waiting for the TSMC9 finals.
Yeah, the ultimate, not the C9TL, but the TSMC9 final. Yeah. Well, it's double eliminate, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's just gonna be like Sword Art against Perks.
The
other four guys, they're like 4 wards, so
yeah. Don't even put them on the Rift. Just put the amount that they're being paid, and then
you just imagine like in game, like you see the idea that it's like TSM Sword Art, it's like TSM 6 million.
Yeah, TSM 6 million, and then I don't know if
Vulcan is like C9 600k, I think.
The buyout was 1.6 million for Vulcan, if that's what you're referring to. Yeah, I don't.
C9 1.6 million.
Yeah, and then but I don't know what his actual salary is. I know Sword Arts is like his contract is 6 million, right? So yeah, it's a little bit different.
Vulcan kind of leaked it on.
Yeah.
In like chat, I don't remember the number. Yeah, then maybe you can see like C9 top lane 80k or something.
Just put the amount of money. Yeah, we don't even use IDs anymore. Just their salary. Oh, okay. That's a good one. All right. I will. Everyone have a good day, and I'll be back tomorrow for live viewing Suning versus LNG.
Yep. And I